What's going on, everybody? Quancredible here, and today I have a bit of a interesting theory for you guys. Now, if you're anime only, I'm sorry. This video will have some light spoilers in it. Nothing too crazy to the plot, so just warning you now. If you stay, it's at your own risk. But in Black Clover chapter 279, we had this kind of interesting interaction between Ralph and one of the members of the Spade Resistance. Ralph notes right here that he says, Master Yuno has become a skilled wind mage. In appearance, he's the very image of Lady Seal, and he has Lois's strong heart. And this other guy with a scar on his face says, Wind magic, I see. Now, this could be one of those things where the fandom is kind of looking way too much at one panel and trying to devise a whole theory out of it. But when you really look at Yuno's magic, I kind of go into this during my review, but I really wanted to make this video to go more deeper into it. Because if you look at it, lots of people, when you think about Yuno's magic, we obviously think about Lich and Tetsuya. We think of, his kind of elven ancestors, but we really never think about his actual parents. Like, we never think about Lois and Seal. Like, we never actually think about what their magics could have been. We kind of all just assume that, he kind of has wind magic because he is the somewhat descendant of Tetsuya and Lich's child, hence giving him wind magic. But this exact panel, how this man seems kind of confused or shocked, they're definitely, it almost feels like there's planting a seed of something more. Now, one thing that we have found out recently in Black Clover is the magic users themselves can be misinformed or not understand their own magic as well as they think they do, such as with Gray. I said this in the review as well. Owen even told Gray that the very nature of her magic may not be transformation of her own, despite her herself using spells and saying transformation magic and then insert whatever the spell name is. I'm not a huge Gray stan. I don't know all of her spells, but you get what I'm saying here, is that Gray herself is the person with said magic, and she didn't even know that the basis of her magic was very different. So I'm just saying that could very well stand possible for other characters in the series as well, including Yuno. Now, you could make the argument that the Spade Kingdom typically has body-ish type magics, as we've seen with, the Dark Triad, as well as a lot of their disciples have had magics based off of more of the human body. So an elemental mage could be rare in the Spade Kingdom. You could be looking at it that way. But me personally, with this theory, I like to take it a step further and say that Yuno has something that is beyond regular wind magic. And if you were asking yourself what could be beyond regular wind, that would be Aether or Ether, depending on how you want to pronounce it. It doesn't really matter either way. I've heard people pronounce it both ways. Now, Ether has ties to his spirit diforms, Zephyr, and to Boris, as well as it has a scientific element to it as well. I'm not going to go mad in depth into the theology and mythology of Ether, nor am I going to go super in depth to the science of Ether, but I will, skate across it so you guys kind of get what I'm going here. Now, in Greek mythology, there's three different types of air that are just breathed. There's the air all the way in the underworld, in Greek mythology, there's three different types of air that people breathe. There's the air that's all the way down in the underworld. There's the one that's for Earth, the ones that us humans breathe. And then there's the air or winds of the gods, the air breathed by the gods, and that would be ether. And this could be a direct, connection to what Yuno's magic could be, because us as regular people or as regular characters in the series are seeing a lot of his abilities as wind, but it could actually have more of a divine element to it. Now, as for the science aspect of Ether, I don't want to confuse anybody, so I'll try to make it as simple as possible. But you could consider Ether as another medium, and by that, just stay with me because it does get confusing. A medium as in that something travels through, so it's what people have believed in the olden days, that light travels through. It fills up space, similar to how if say there's water and there's waves of water, like say a rock makes waves in water would be the medium to show the waves. Or take sound, sound waves travel through air would be the medium. Or seismic waves, how the ground shakes, earth would be the medium. So ether would be the medium that light travels through. It's I understand it's kind of a lot. It honestly is, but basically the big deal here is that ether is really special. It's not just your average everyday run of the mill thing. The olden people or the the people back in the day, you know, the people from ancient Greece and lots of people from like the Middle Ages believed that Aether was like the air of space, or like I said, air of the gods. So this little extra bit for you know what would this mean? This could kind of provide more explanation to why, you know, Yuno is able to damage devils and stuff, because a lot of people would assume it is because of, you know, the Spirit of Zephyr became an arcane spell once it absorbed Lumiere's and Lich magic. And you know, that could be a potential explanation, or it could be when he was fighting in Xenon. It could be that the Boris Halberd is made of the same principles that he collected from Lumiere and Licht, or it could be because the mana is helping him. But if you look at it with the principle of Aether, it could be that Yuno's magic has actually been arcane this entire time, because if it's the air of the gods, it obviously would have to be arcane. That sounds like way too special to not be. That's kind of what I'm getting at here. And if you want to think all the way back in the series, well, if Yuno has been arcane this entire time, how didn't he know? And it's one of those things where he would have literally no way of knowing. The only instance where he could have known would have been in his fight against Zagrid, and now he wouldn't have really had a moment to, because even if spells are arcane, even if spells are arcane, or if a mage is arcane, if the spell is just not strong enough to do anything, it won't work, or it will not be as effective as it, you know, as it should be. Case in point, Asta. Asta is a perfect example of this. Asta is arcane and he has anti-magic, but we've seen multiple times his magic, or not his magic, he doesn't have magic, but we've seen multiple times his anti-magic not work or not be as effective, you know, despite having this universal nullifying property, just because people or spells or attacks were just that much stronger than him. Like take when Asta was fighting against Dante, he really didn't do any damage to him until he ramped up his anti-magic. Or against Zagrid, you know, he really didn't do anything until he ramped up his anti-magic. So it's kind of, you could take the same principles and apply it to arcane, that if you ramp up the power of the arcane spell, it'll be more powerful. So like it would make sense that Yuno would have never found out that he was arcane, and this, you know, this Aether magic could potentially have been a magic type of Lord Lois, or, you know, or of Seal. It's very possible, seeing as how shocked he was. If you're wondering why Ralph didn't say anything to, you know, it's probably because Ralph just literally doesn't know enough. Ralph was relatively young into his, you know, career as a military defense force officer, whatever his official title was. I mean, granted, he was going to, you know, inherit the you know, captain position from his dad, more than likely, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he knows exactly what Lois or Seal's magic type was, because like I said, he was younger when this all happened. Like he appeared to be in his early 20s when the whole Zogratis coup happened and they, you know, killed the royalty and all that. So it's very reasonable to assume Ralph doesn't know, and if he does know, he could be dumb enough to just assume that Yuno just knows what type of magic he has, and just, well, Yuno said he has wind, so he must have wind. So that's kind of a reason on that one. Now, for what this means for Yuno in the future, I don't know if it could be at the end of this arc, or, you know, kind of leading into next arc. Yuno could really figure out the true potential of his magic, and that could take him farther in terms of getting stronger. Because if you think about it, Yuno not going to train with the Heart Kingdom would make even more sense if his magic was not just wind, if it was Aether, because him trying to use runes and figuring more out about the mana method would naturally lead him to figuring out the true nature of his magic. So in addition to Yuno's own personality wanting to get stronger on his own, Tabata could have also used this as like a double reason to make Yuno stay behind. That's why I really like this theory a lot. But that's enough. I'm going to go on about that. I feel like I've rambled enough. Let me know you guys' thoughts on Yuno potentially having Aether magic, you know, being, you know, the wind or of the air of the gods. I'm very curious to know you guys' thoughts on this. Please leave your comments down below. Make sure you guys leave a like on the video, as well as subscribe to the channel. I really do appreciate all of the support greatly. You guys have no idea. So yeah, enjoy the rest of you guys' day, and I will catch you all in my next video.